his own set of skills, capabilities, and everything. And then there's computer, which some say helps man do his work. Others say it is man rather who sort of makes the computer really work. So which is which? I mean, it's a debate that I'm sure has been going on. You've been thinking about it for some time now. But I want to start the debate right now, right here, with Ayoko and Bright. Thanks for joining me. Since you are science biased, let me start with you.
Okay.
Man and computer. Is it that the computer is more effective or efficient than man?
On some tasks, yes. It's a question of what task you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
And there are certain things, for now, primarily repetitive things, which we are not as good at because we get tired, right? And sometimes we just want to be able to program a machine to do those tasks over and over again.
Okay.
So, you know, in the automotive industry, we know that most of our cars are actually built by robots, and that's because the robots are much better at doing the welding and that than we are as humans.
Okay. Bright, where do you stand?
Well, I agree, but then it also opens up another area where there is general intelligence and narrow intelligence. And so, as I could try to allude to, in some things, the computers are better than us, but in other stuff they don't come close to us because of the set of skills or the set of endowments we have in terms of our humanity, the way our brain works currently. We know that at the rate we are going, they are gaining on us, they are catching up very fast, and they would beat us in some things. In fact, they have been beating us. You remember the Deep Blue by IBM, beating the chess champion, the most revered Garry Kasparov. And so computers have competed on singular tasks, but not on general stuff, and beaten us to it. And they continue to do so. So my point is that it is important that we don't take absolute positions of whether it will be happening or to not be happening. What we need to think about is, should it happen, where do we sit or stand? How do we prepare for that day when, even, guess what, general intelligence-wise, a computer can match me? Where do I stand? What can I prepare with now for me to be still relevant? I think that's the question we should be asking.
Because I have played tennis, lawn tennis with my laptop and my tablets a few times, and the tablet won, and I really didn't understand. I was mad because I didn't understand why a tablet should need to be at a game like that. But then that also brings about the talk about artificial intelligence and the controversy surrounding it. Some experts saying that in about 15-30 years, we really wouldn't need man to do some jobs because then the computer will be in a better position to do them. Should we be worried about the advancements we're making in terms of artificial intelligence?
I think we should be more excited than worried. We will be worried if we don't understand what's coming at us and we don't know how to take advantage of it. But once we understand and know how to take advantage of it and kind of put ourselves in the driving seat, then it's exciting.
So how do we understand it to take advantage?
I'll give you an example. I mean, you're talking about your tablet beating you at lawn tennis. About 5 or 6, actually almost 9 years ago now, when we taught the first robotics course at Ashesi, one of the students for their final project programmed a robot or created a robot that could play tic-tac-toe, or what we call noughts and crosses, or XO, depending on what name you want, against a human opponent.
Okay.
And the robot would either win or draw every time. It was impossible for
the robot to lose.
For the robot to lose. And this was
Why?
Students, right? And it's about the algorithm. And for the guests who came in to watch the presentations, they were completely fascinated and they didn't understand how this robot they could just not beat this robot. But for the students who programmed the robot, they understood how the algorithm worked. They understood why it behaved the way they were, and they weren't surprised that the robot never lost. So we need to put ourselves in the driving position where we really understand what's going on in terms of the technology. We understand the algorithms, and we can create the algorithms that do what we want them to do, and that we won't be afraid of machines that appear to be intelligent or appear to be better than we are.
I can understand that it will be exciting for you because you're in the field of science, computer science to be specific. But for someone like you and I who probably aren't science buffs, I mean, we just use the computer because, yeah, I mean, it helps me do my work, so that's fine. Should I be worried about artificial intelligence?
Yes and no. Yes, because they could take your job. Computers and algorithms are already writing news stories. They are already doing stuff that pathologists are doing, reading breast cancer mammograms and beating the pathologist at accuracy.
Yeah, the Associated Press, for instance, says a number of their writers have had to go off because the computers are doing the work.
Right. So that's where it's yes. And no also because as humans, we have certain things that computers will not attain in the shortest possible time. The way I see it, empathy, collaboration, storytelling. They are far in terms of human capability, in terms of general intelligence and our humanness. Humans like to collaborate with humans. We've evolved as human beings and survived all these millions of years, and if you like, the evolutionists have said there was a selection and we were the ones who remain and so on. And all because of certain things that we have had that had enabled us to survive. And so I think that we need to go back and look at what makes us more human and look at focusing on those skills and begin to teach those skills to our kids and begin to retrain those of us who are working already to emphasize those innate human abilities to our advantage. And it is because we know that the computers will not get there sooner than probably would want, the scientists would want them to.
Is it true? Because you watch a movie like iRobot, and you watch the robot take the gun, it can scan the person and determine, okay, whether this is a target or not. Isn't that a bit of emotion in there?
Well, I won't go into the question about what is emotion and what is not emotion. I mean, even the question of what is intelligence and what does it mean to think? You know, these are questions which really we don't have a consensus on, right? Okay. But the way we define intelligence in the context of a machine is more about the tasks it can do that we normally associate with intelligence. So rather, you know, we move away from the definition of what exactly is intelligence to talk about, you know, can this computer or can this machine perform tasks which we normally associate with intelligence. Okay. Now, one of the things which, I mean, I'll go back to something Bright mentioned about things like collaboration, right?
Empathy.
I'll start with collaboration. Okay. Because it's easier to pinpoint collaboration than it is to pinpoint empathy, right? Okay. Empathy is an emotion, a virtue, right? Whereas collaboration is something you see. Right, and I mean, my PhD thesis was on collaboration in robot teams. Right?
So it's possible.
I mean, it is happening, but right, it's about. I mean, so what's collaboration? Collaboration's working together, right? So you can have a robot working together with another robot or other humans to achieve a particular task. And an important area of research right now is moving beyond looking at just robot-robot collaboration to looking at human-robot collaboration or collaboration between a human and some kind of computer-based agent. And the idea is that we want to get certain work done. We have certain tasks that we would like to achieve, and at every point in time there are things that we're good at, and then there are things that we have made machines that are better at those particular tasks than we are. So ideally, to get the task done, you want to take the best of both worlds. There's an interesting research project at Carnegie Mellon going on right now where they're precisely looking at this issue, and their argument is, you know, there are certain things which are harder for robots. Manipulation, you know, when you look at our hand, it's a very, very complicated device. So many different joints, and yes, you know, people have built robots that mimic the human anatomy, the hand, but it's very, very hard computationally. Now, there are other things which robots are fairly good at, like navigating. If they have wheels, they can move, avoid obstacles, etc. So they have this robot that moves, navigates the halls of Carnegie Mellon University, but the robot doesn't have any hands or arms because the researchers just don't want to deal with that aspect of it. And so when a robot gets to a situation where it needs its hands, it asks for help from a human being. So when it gets to an elevator, it waits in front of the elevator until a human being passes and says, hey, I want to get in the elevator, but I don't have a finger to press the button. Please, can you press the button for me? And then the human presses the button, and then the robot can go, and the robot is delivering things, snacks and things. And then there's this other part where there's a glass corridor, and the robot uses lasers for navigation, right? And lasers are basically just beams of light, right? And light passes through glass. So whereas the robot can easily see opaque objects, and so it won't run into this table, it can't see the glass walls. And so navigating through that corridor is a difficult task for the robot. It can't guarantee that it's not going to drive into the glass and maybe break the glass and fall out. And so what it does is when it gets to the edge of that corridor, it waits. And when a human is passing, it says, ask the human, can I follow you? And then it follows the robot. This is just kind of it's sort of a fun research project, but it's trying to get to that idea of, at any point in time, and this will be a changing goalpost over time, what are we good at? What are the machines good at? How can we work together? But ultimately, that process is driven by us, right?
Absolutely, I agree. That technology by itself does not change or disrupt. It is our love for technology as humans that drives and makes technology thrive, right? So social media is upon us now. It is us and our love for sharing information that has given so much information and put it out there in the hands of the algorithms. And so now the apps that we have are building upon the already existing information. And then the architecture is growing every day. And so you build an app on Facebook, and Facebook already has some basic stuff that based on information collected from all of us. Same for Google, and same for all the other engines, search engines, and so on. So it is us humans that drive that. So the question is, what makes us like to do this? And so I've heard other scientists also talk about teaching robots or algorithms to find out why humans like empathy, or why or when a human being would like empathy, and teaching them to learn to be empathetic. So there could be all sorts of things, but it's all going to be driven by us.
So we can limit the amount.
But we have to prepare.
Okay.
Because if you just sit back, you would be overtaken. Okay. And one scientists put it this way, that if you heard that an alien sent a message from outer space and said, well, we are on our way, would you just say, well, we're waiting for you to arrive, or you will start preparing? So we have a choice to decide to wait and not prepare, or to choose to get ready. And that's what I'm talking about. And that's the alert we're putting out there, that let's not sit back. Disruption is on the way. And we have seen disruptions in the past. We have seen bubbles burst. Okay, let's not sit back. Let's get ready.
Okay, so then eventually, if we get to the point, or to the bridge, as we like to say, where the robots, the fears that people have that robots will start taking over their job come to pass, then what? What do we do at that point?
I think it's, we say things, we like to anthropomorphize robots. We say that robots will take over our jobs. I think that kind of language and that kind of speaking also then makes people afraid, because they think of these robots as sentient beings that are coming, and they're coming to take over. But one example, and Bright and I were talking about this last week, one example I like to give is, once upon a time, being a scribe was a job. Yeah. People wrote books painstakingly by hand. I was watching a documentary the other day on TV which was talking about Constantine, the Roman emperor, who basically he played a big role in standardizing or forcing the standardization of the Bible, because he commissioned about something like 25 big Bibles to be written or transcribed, and so at that point the bishops had to really make a decision in terms of which books get in and which books go out. But those were all written painstakingly by hand, right? At that time, not all knowledge was in the hands of the clergy, because they were the ones who knew how to read, they were the ones who knew how to write. The rest of us, we were just there. Whatever they said, we would do, right? We could not read, we did not have our own books, and books were too expensive. Fast forward many years, right, and someone created the printing press, right? Now, books could be reproduced. I mean, you could reproduce 1,000 books in a matter of a few minutes. Yes, people lost their jobs, the scribes, right? But the benefit was that we now all had books in our hands, right? We could have knowledge of our own. And many other jobs were created as a result, right? The important thing, as Bright mentioned, is to be ready as things change. And let's help our society to be ready as well. Let's not keep our society at the point where the only skills we have are skills that can be done by a machine easily now, because otherwise then we make it more and more difficult for us to make a contribution, right? But let's put ourselves in the position where we understand the capabilities of the technology. We can dictate how it should be used. We can decide what we want to use it for and how we are going to collaborate with that technology that we're creating. So my argument is that, in a sense, it's not that different from other technological developments that have happened in the past, right? And every time there's a big technological change, we can view it with fear, or we can position ourselves to really take advantage of it and to use it for good. And I think that's an important thing, because machines are not inherently good or bad, right? Humans are the ones that have that capability of being able to be good or bad. And so we need to really know how to use the incredible tools that are coming our way.
Speaking of the benefits we can derive from machines, for instance, I was reading an article about BMW using iGenius. It's an artificial intelligence system they have to do more like PR for their new electronic cars. So all you need to do is probably you just send a text to a short code any time of the day, and then you get a response, except that this time it's not a human sitting there to type it all for you. The system has been fed all the information, so it just tries to decipher the message you've sent and then puts the response together and sends it to you. And
that response will be tailor-made, one-on-one, not en masse, like they will be broadcast SMS mass. And so that's the benefit there for AI, or from AI, with algorithms that can actually learn and understand you. Okay, so on the internet, we all access the internet by phone or laptops or PC, and we have IPs. And so those IPs are addresses. And so the algorithms learn how to address us one-on-one as individuals. And that's the immense benefit for us who do brand building. And most brands tend to struggle with engagement, with empathy, with relationship building, one-on-one level, because it's so difficult. But until the arrival of algorithms on the internet and so on, you couldn't target people and speak to them directly as who they are. So that is the benefit, and it's the skill sets that we need to be able to access those benefits. That is what is my focus and my company's focus, to raise the awareness that the skill sets that are needed in the next 10 to 15 years in marketing communications are not mainstream yet in our market. and we need to begin to train ourselves. We need to begin to invest money into training ourselves so that we can be able to play at that global or regional level, and then hold on to our jobs. Else, other people would come and take those jobs. So a few years down the road, just 5 years ago, we talked about search engine marketing, where you pay for your advert to be shown in a hierarchy. Okay, and people started clicking away from the paid ads on Google searches. And so we decided, or the industry decided, to optimize websites. So there's now search engine optimization. So sites are optimized to be picked up by search engines rather. And now there's programmatic buying, which is more of the addressable thing I talked about. So the benefits are immense. We just have to prepare and take advantage of them.
But how do we prepare and how do we take advantage? You know, often when it comes to technology and you talk about, oh, let's learn more about it, people tend to shy away a bit. Some people are still in the conservative mode. They'd say, oh, where I am, you know, I don't have access to the computer even, I don't know how it works. But you're also talking about us moving forward, at least one step ahead, so that tasks that are easily that can be easily performed by computers, at least we go ahead of them so that we don't cry that the computer is taking my job. How do we get there?
I think there are a number of ways of getting there. I mean, even right from our primary schools, right, our secondary schools, we should be helping students understand, not just, you know, we talk a lot about teaching ICT, right, but often we treat technology as an object. You know, actually, I won't name names, but there was a particular nursery school, and I overheard an interaction between the teacher and the children. It was a nursery primary, so I'm not sure exactly what class this was. And one of the teacher asked the students, how many parts does a computer have? And I was like, I wonder what the answer to that question is. You know, I'm a computer scientist, right? I'm a computer scientist. And, you know, the teacher was like, okay, the computer has 6 parts. And so the children were reciting, the computer has 6 parts. And I was still thinking to myself, what exactly are these 6 parts? What? And so this approach of teaching ICT is definitely not helpful, right?
Oh, I can guess the 6 parts. The screen, the keyboard, the mouse,
the CPU. I don't know. I mean, depending on how you put it, so you really don't know the answer to this question. But it's this going back to this idea of rote learning. Oh, this is an object I have to learn about. I need to be able to name the parts. What is more important is understanding. You know, there's this new way of describing this knowledge called computational thinking, which is basically an understanding of how computing devices process information, an understanding of the notion of an algorithm simply as a logical step-by-step process for solving a particular problem, right? We need to have, just like how our children learn math in school, right? They need to be learning about computational thinking and algorithmic thinking, because it's all about, all of this that we're talking about is really just about algorithms, about thinking in an abstract way about how a problem is solved step by step, and being comfortable thinking in that way. It's not about the objects, it's not about specific hardware. So that's, you know, starting from really young people, right? In terms of the rest of us who are already, you know, maybe we've already gone through school, right? One of the things we can do is make an effort just to learn about some of the tools available for our particular profession, and kind of, and we can, sometimes people are afraid of technology, and that's where young people tend not to be afraid of technology. It's the older people who are afraid of technology, right? So maybe get your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, a child to go along with you in an exploration of some of the technological tools that are available, and just see, you know, I am the expert of my particular profession, but how can I use this tool to make my work easier, to make my work more interesting, to make my work less tedious, and little by little then we'll fall away from some of that fear that we have. So I'm sure Bright has a lot to add on this question.
Sure, I was trying to get to watch a video this past weekend with my 8-year-old son, and I said, well, we're coming to watch a movie, about how computers behave like human beings. Just trying to let him understand AI. And he said, but Dad, computers are not humans. And for me, that's a big statement and an important one. And it brings our minds to the fact that computers are not us, okay? And so we should look into ourselves and find out the things that we are uniquely designed as human beings to do. So when someone goes to school, and the point about rote learning, about chew, pour, pass, and forget, rather than problem solving becomes the way, the easy way out. I'm sorry, we need to start to understand why the human beings were created in the first place. A human being is made to solve problems and to create and co-create with God. So I think that we need to go back to the basics. And whether you are learning or you are already working, you go back to the basics. And all of us look into yourself and see, what do I do well, naturally, even already? And build from there. And that could be the one that keeps your job.
But on Wednesday, you're having this program about the AI, artificial intelligence impact on marketing.
Yes.
What should we expect from that? Because, like you said earlier, the future of the present hasn't gotten into us yet, but we want to prepare.
Exactly. So we want to raise awareness. We want to bring industry players together. We want to bring AI experts like Ayoko into our fold and discuss and explore and debate, okay, all the possibilities, positive and negative, and leave that place with an inspired position that we as humans will continue to remain in control. However, we need to be acting and doing the right things and not sit back. And that's what the debate is about. It's not about who would win the day, but it's about how we get impacted by the exploration we go through intellectually and practically. Yeah.
What does the future look like for us in terms of AI marketing in Ghana?
Well,
I'm trying to push you in a tight position.
You are trying to push me in a tight position, and as you know, as Bright and I have spoken about, I'm really not a marketing expert, right? Bright is a marketing expert, and so he might be a better person to speak to that. But the truth of the matter is that the direction that AI or the tools that AI puts at our disposal include things like making sense of large amounts of data that we can't even get our minds around. You know, that's one of the things which we as humans are not particularly good at. You know, we see lots of numbers, lots of data, lots of images. It's hard to find those patterns, and AI is really, really good at that. So to the extent that, I mean, I already know that a company in Ghana that does a recommendation system where they're able to tell companies, hey, of all these clients out there, these are the people that you should be marketing this particular product to based on the data that they're able to collect about these customers. So that's one way I think this is really related to marketing. Another tool that AI is working on is the idea of what we call learning, right? And learning is one of those words which you begin to ask, what does it really mean? And in the context of AI, what that means is improving behavior with experience. So you might have an algorithm that is supposed to do a particular task, like, for example, identify faces in photographs, right? And then the more faces, the more photographs it's able to see, the better or the more accurate it becomes at that particular task. So that whole idea of learning. So again, related to marketing, maybe it's about targeting certain customers, maybe it's about, I don't know, what are some of the applications of learning in marketing?
So we always need to report, for instance, on sentiment analysis on social media, for instance, brands that are being talked about on social media. So AI is getting to a point where the AI is trained to recognize brands that are popping up. So the AI is able to report that this brand is being talked about out of its category.
Doesn't matter if it's an existing brand or a new brand.
It doesn't matter, but the AI is able to pick based on individuals' interactions online that they are talking about this, because it's recognizing this brand's logo because it can see and spot it. Okay. So the AIs can learn. It's called machine learning, and they can learn to do stuff online that can feed us insights for us, marketers, which we can build on and respond properly with in terms of our consumer targeting and sentiment analysis, PR measurements, and so on and so forth. So that's a very positive side of the AIs that learn to recognize things online.
So where exactly is the event? I know it's Wednesday, but where?
It's at Fiesta Royal Hotel off the N1, and it's at 9:30 a.m.
Is it open to the public?
It's open to the public.
Anybody at all who's interested?
Anybody. So we have a link online at Eventbrite, PhD Ghana Man versus Machine. That's the name of the event. When you go to eventbrite.com, you can search it and you can book a ticket there. It's free though.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll see Ayoko there.
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay. So I'm sure we can continue this debate on Wednesday at Fiesta Royal. Okay, thank you very much, Ayoko and Bright.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So we've been talking about man versus machine. Of course, we're looking at the AI or artificial intelligence impact on marketing. Join us at Fiesta Royal for that particular event.